Hello dear viewers, today our topic is violence against weaker sections. The debate on violence against weaker section is for sure traditionally established and has been consistent all through decades of human life has been lived in. But with the passage of time, it has diversified in dimensions and application. Weaker sections in contemporary sense is much more diverse term than what it used to be in the past times. We need to understand the two terms first of all. Firstly, violence and secondly, weaker sections. Violence is an act inducing pain, distress, stress or any kind of suffering to an individual or group or a community. It is a behavior involving physical force meant to do harm to someone. Violence is usually destructive in nature and implication also. Some synonyms can be used to understand the meaning of the term violence more deeply. For example, brutality, roughness, forceful injurious behavior, devastating, destructive and the like. There are innumerable theories on violence developed by various social scientists. Some have seen violence as a content of class structure like Karl Marx, and others have seen it as a component of group reactions. The American Psychological Association explains violence as an extreme form of aggression or assault as reflected in cases of rape or murder. There are different types of violence. For instance, emotional violence, economic violence, psychological violence, physical violence, sexual violence, verbal abuse too comes in the same category. While talking of violence, immediate angles which strike one's mind are the doer and the victim. Violence is always done by one party against the other. In very general terms, violence usually comes against the weaker sections of society, except the abrupt cases like road rage, road quarrels, accidental issues and the like, where violence is a sudden occurrence and not a planned or thought one. In dominant number of cases, mostly the weaker sections of society are the victims of violence. Weaker sections of society include those groups of people who are weaker and subjugated in one or the other term. These people are weak to face or react to or even to create a defense mechanism against violence, violence act or even the threat to violence working against them. Weaker sections are weak and dependent in terms of finance, social support, psychological health, educational empowerment and physical strength. Violence against weaker sections obviously implies attack on their basic and human rights. Very commonly known or entitled weaker sections in India are women, minorities and the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. To do justice to the concept, we yet need to go into depth of these terms. Rights, violence and minorities are inalienable topics which are to be studied in connection, either being done as regional, national or on international levels. The lower one starts moving in this hierarchy, the more authentic is the research. Very often when violence occurs, it attacks the rights of the victims, rather a wide range of rights of victims, that is to say minorities. Minority status is allotted to such group when there is distinguishable situation where the group is observably different from the mainstream of demography. In India, the concept of minorities is generally, or we can say dominantly, interpreted through caste structure followed by class, gender, race and religion. The caste and religion based interpretation of minorities being the most popular has been given great space in the Indian Constitution and also in legislation enacted or proposed thereon. The gender based conceptualization has also been surfaced for many years and adequate decades even. The issue is of the intra-group based and contra-group based interpretation of minorities, which is yet to acquire a space. Donnelly in 2014, relating to it, opined that the international human rights regime is largely the result of realization of the rights of the groups of people who have been deprived for long of their rights, who have been stigmatized for no fault of their being a suffering community, who have been understood, downtrodden, and also have been identified as minorities. These groups include a wide range of people like women, children, disabled, homosexuals, transgenders, lower caste people in case of India, however, in controversial debates since ever, poor people who cannot afford basic amenities of life, and perhaps all other people or groups who are powerless. We'll discuss violence against women and children. Violence against women, first of all. NCRB has ample data and facts on crime against women. National as well as international level research get attracted towards India when it comes to violence and crime against women in India. Both rape and molestation cases drastically increased in the number of years from 2011 to 15 in the capital of the nation. If the national capital reports such high instances of crime against women, the situation in other states and UTs can be well imagined. The incidence rate of crime against women in the capital of the nation is an impetus for the gendered criminal tendencies to grow all over the nation. In India, as shown in the world map, women lack physical security. Nations from northwestern part of Africa and South America and some other like Pakistan, Afghanistan and some other countries, women lack physical security. We will now refer to the National Human Rights Commission's combined 4th and 5th periodic report submitted to the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women on the implementation of CEDAW in India. According to NHRC, the increasing rate of crime against women in India is a matter of very serious concern. As per the report, 293 cases of rape were reported to NHRC during January to April in the year 2014 only. This shows clear failure of protective agencies and policing in the nation. However, corruption in police and process of policing is an allied issue, but due to paucity of time, we cannot touch that in this lecture. The facts are clear to us to a large extent, but there is a serious need to understand the factors behind this situation where women, the source of progeny, the homemaker, is under big threat. The major factor behind this is the pattern and process of socialization in India. Men, right from their childhood, are nurtured and brought with comparative siblings notion. Their upbringing in relation to their other sex sibling is entirely different. Social values attributed to females, submissiveness, sacrifice, adjustability, compromise, dedication, household management, social curtaining and the like are extreme counterparts of masculine values like assertiveness, dominance, household headship and the like. This disparity, while teaching social values and learning them eventually, leads to gender roles, further leading to gender roles and domestic violence against women and violence outside familial limits. It connects into crime against women. For example, in India, social structure, if a female complains publicly against a wedlocked rape or a rape outside marriage, her stigmatization is going to be the same. The reason is that social humiliation that would be probably attached to a woman talking or complaining publicly against her sexual exploitation. There is the least chance of sympathy being manifested because the social prestige is more attached to the concept of women being patient against her suffering. Proneness of female to criminal activities is dominantly derived by two main factors. One is their weaker physical position due to differential biological processes making them helpless periodically, and the other is the social values paradigm influenced by patriarch and male dominance in general. The culture of inequality between men and women in fact perpetuates the situation for committing crime against softer gender. Millett in 1970 and Firestone in 1971 explained patriarch as a social structure found in almost all societies in which men and women comprise sex classes. Men as a dominant class oppress women and exploit them economically, politically and sexually. This domination has its clearest expression in the intimate personal relationship of love, sex and marriage, which are claimed to be the subject to the constant threat of male violence. Perhaps here is the point where the threat moves from. Men, under extreme influence of these gendered habits, commit crime outside their familial situations also. Hence, more than the role of law, the role of society and family values can help in context of crime against women. The reason is that values, behaviors, traditions and acts learned from family move to roads and other places where criminal acts against women are committed. Yes, another factor which cannot be ignored here is families having domestic violence against women. The male children of such families are reported using force against their own mothers and other female members of their family as they had witnessed their fathers doing the same. On the whole, India has to curb this menace, which is the biggest blot on welfare realm of the nation. Violence against children. Children, the dependent population of the nation, are most important subject of social security. The reason is their innocence, immaturity and ignorance, which makes them largely unable to understand intentions of the acts others do to them. They are least aware of what can happen next. They are not able to understand the terms like threat, risk, as their minds are completely ignorant of negativity of the human world they dwell in fact. Children are one of the biggest victims of crime in India. Figure 1 shows the crime against children, the cases registered during 2010 and 13. The data compiled by the NCRB depicts that the crime against children increased to 58,224 cases reported and registered in the year 13, then 26,694 registered cases in the year 2010. There has been a disastrous increase in incidents of crime and violence against children. The major crimes of violence against children done include forcible sexual intercourse with girl child by a relative, molestation, kidnapping for revenge or ransom, child pornography, gendered malnutrition, that is giving less food to the child if it is a girl child, bonded labor, forced begging as an organized crime, child prostitution, human trafficking of children, both of girls and boys of course, and the like. This situation is serious and has to be looked through and dealt with rigorous efforts for amelioration. Any crime against child has a long-term effect. Cases have been seen when sexual violence, assault or molestation resulted into attempt to suicide and also successful suicides. In many cases, children acquire psychological disorders which affect their career, their education and their overall growth and development. Other consequences of violence against children are social stigmatization, social discrimination, socio-cultural maladaptation, unwanted pregnancies, ill health, juvenile delinquency and the like, which are very serious in fact. These repercussions have a serious bearing on the national growth, as the children are the road to future's growth. There is a dire need of strict implementation of laws which already exist in good number. Above all, mature parenting is the most workable solution to this situation. A strong upbringing can check and deter growth of criminal and violent tendencies of children. On the other hand, the susceptible children can be trained for assessing the threats. A good socialization undertaken for children also makes them capable of using defense mechanism against the threats, saving themselves from crimes or violence in many cases. The utmost need of the hour is open-minded parenting by both mother and the father. It has been seen that sexual violence does not often come sudden. It perpetuates within the family and social structures like communities. In such cases, if the children have blind faith in parents and this confidence that parents will understand their problems and sufferings, they can share the risk they feel with their parents, deterring the about to take place sexual violence and saving the child too. Now we'll discuss violence against minorities. In case of caste in India, the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes occupy a very pivotal position in Indian politics, and no political party can afford to win their displeasure, said by Gill and Singh in 1989. More so, there are many clear provisions in Indian legislative structure which protect the minority with clarity and commitment. However, their misuse and their overuse is another question or issue to be explored here. Finally interpreted by Donnelly in 2015, caste membership gives to each person a defined place in society. Inequality and group repulsion thus may be partially mitigated by the fact that all are bound together into an intricately articulated social and natural order. In contemporary India, Dalits and tribals are protected and have been well prioritized through the Untouchability Practices Act, amended and renamed as the Protect of Civil Liberties Act of 1955, and the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, and many corresponding legal rights enforceable for sure mentioned in the grand law of the land, that is the Indian Constitution. These legislations have largely contributed in making the world a better place for the people from lower social hierarchies, which they truly needed if thought as a response to the traditionally known exploitation done against them. But existence of enormous laws and provisions for protection are still not enough in this case. Most often, the social minorities inclusive of SCs and STs are reported to be socially stigmatized, and the term used for sufferer is Dalits. Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Odisha, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh have been shown as the most vulnerable states for Dalits, where violence and crime against them have been on high rate as per the incidents reported in the year 2014. In addition, out of the total 25 students who committed suicide in North India only, 23 were reported to be Dalits. In 2015, in a village named Sanped in district Faridabad near New Delhi, the upper caste Rajputs allegedly fired a Dalit house, killing 2 children who were sleeping, aged 2 years and 9 months respectively. In July 2016, the town Una of Gir Somnath district in Gujarat, 7 members of Dalit families were beaten brutally by a group of cow protectors. The reason was that they skinned a dead cow. After beating them badly, 4 male members were taken to Una town for making them parade publicly and made them walk to the police station. the National Human Rights Commission in 2010 reported that a crime is committed against Dalits every 18 minutes. NCRB in year 14 stated that in the year 14, 47,064 cases of crime against Dalits were registered as compared to 39,408 cases in 2013 and 33,665 cases in year 12. The stats show it very apt that crime and violence against Dalits has risen in India, making it a sorry state of affairs in multiple terms. Perhaps the major reason is caste-related orthodoxy and social conservatism. The sexual minorities are another crucial topic to be referred to here. Sexual minorities today are on the surface discussions marking a radical openness in the global academic as well as social order. Communities in all types of societies, that is developed, underdeveloped and developing, today talk of the sexual minorities like transgenders, homosexuals, broadly termed as pansexual. The category of pansexual includes those people who are not limited in sexual choices with regard to biological sex, gender or gender identity. They are open to all sexual orientations, may be known as straight, gay, lesbian, bisexuals, pansexuals or transvestites. These groups are conceptualized as sexual minorities due to very justifiable reasons. They are in almost all parts of the world. They are stigmatized, discriminated against, disliked, disdained, socially rejected and even hated for their being contrasexual groups. Contrasexual group implies the group which is not fixed in the notion of heterosexuality and has different sexual orientations, different choices, aptitude and interests. These people view sex beyond gender and see it through their levels of acceptability and comfortability, which range farther than biological traits or features only. In Iran, Mauritania, Saudi Arabia, Sudan and Yemen, plus certain states in Nigeria also, penalties up to death may be imposed. In Iran, at least 3 gay men were executed in both year 10 and 11. Human Rights Watch over the period of 9 and 11 has documented discrimination and intolerance against sexual minorities in Belarus, China, Colombia, Egypt, Indonesia, Kenya, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Nepal, Nigeria, Papua New Guinea, Rwanda, Serbia and Uganda also. Leaving a large base for further research, it can be said that such hatred and disgust for sexual minorities is not unnatural as itself homosexuality is. Homosexuality is not accepted in many regions and societies as it is said to be against nature's prescribed sexual behavior. It is propagated against as an unnatural act of involved humans, but in fact it is not. The nations mentioned above where crime has been done against the homosexuals, labeling it as a response to their anti-social behavior, or where homosexuals have been tortured or targeted, reflect a strong and fundamental connection with the value structure which has been an integral part of such societies for centuries, and also reflect their socialization patterns of decades, or may say centuries again. Talking about the transgender, a community which focused for mockery, fun and practices like cheap joking, rather not only discrimination, is another crucial and serious concern. While referring to the regional, national as well as international pressures for protecting human rights and most of all individuals' claim being made for right to dignity, the transgender community is a pivotal theme. Their situation needs to be explored and understood in case of research. Neither being able to live a life of a female nor of a male, what else could be more complex, could be more complicated, could be more prejudiced or disabled mode of life. They are not offered any reservation under viable categorization, neither can they practice multiple professions like counterparts. As a result of this, they respond doing crime for earning livelihood, as death does not come as a right to them. However, crimes being done against them need thorough research to connect appropriately to their problems and state of mind. This situation, least and inadequately explained, often has contributed to gender bias. They prefer to live like and look like women for their better commodification and salability. It poses big threat for the whole mankind of the world, which tends to claim gender equity. In conclusion, we have to discuss it this way. Any social science does not promise to render solutions to such issues, but surely provides an adequate understanding of the social issues linked largely to minorities and other weaker sections of society. We have talked in details regarding violence, crimes against weaker sections and allied issues. The benefits of such discussions should not be kept limited to academics only. Rather, they should lead to change in the mindset, either on small or large scales. Rigorous efforts are needed to be made to curb violence against the weaker sections, but none out of the government or public can alone do the task. There has to be undertaken a two-way process for amelioration of the present situations. Dear viewers, I hope that such themes covered by UGC curriculum instill a responsible civic sense in the youth, which shall surely and hopefully make India a better place to live for all those who are not living but only suffering today. Good day to you all.